Hello, Archie Bernice.
Well, hello, Stevie. How goes it?
Goeth well, my friend. How are you?
It goeth well with me as well. Klingon Maktajash, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Someone asked me over the weekend if I spoke fluent Klingon, and I said, no, I don't. But did you know you could learn Klingon on the app Duolingo?
Yes. And some of us may have had to dip into it to learn how to pronounce a particular word from today's episode.
Is that so?
Yes. I wasn't sure on the second word of the title of the game they play. But anyway, let's introduce the show. Welcome to Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast where we talk about Star Trek illogically. And it's a podcast. Today's stardate is stardate 33295.9. And we're talking about Lower Decks, Season 3, Episode 2, The Least Dangerous Game. This was a wonderful episode too, where things getting back to normal and so on and so forth. But we should do our preamble. So hey, review us on Apple Podcasts if you Apple. I almost said Apple like
Apple.
Review us on Apple.
I think I would love to hear you do our whole preamble in Klingon.
Klingon.
Yeah,
I would love to. Maybe one day I'll. I do have a few saved bookmarks of Klingon translators. I could literally translate to Klingon, but probably wouldn't sound very.
Oh, I just meant in a voice. You don't need to do it in
voice
Klingon.
Of Martok, sort of. Sure. Well, review us on Apple Podcast. Stevie, talk about Patreon.
Yes, Mr. Klingon. Yes, sir. So we do have a Patreon, and it would be wonderful for you to join us there. We have live streams that you can view us live. I suppose that is in the title. You can join us for Zoom conversations and hangs. You can join us for movie and show watch parties. We have lots of fun. So please do join us at patreon.com/setphasers.
Yes. Also, our episodes are on YouTube somewhere. Kapla. Let's see. Remember Kapla Corner?
Yes.
I've traded in my Kapla Corners for hot takes and tinfoil time, but maybe I'll get upset again one day. Let's just run down this episode, I guess.
Let's do it.
It's time to run it down.
Can you run it down for me? Tell me what just happened. Can you run it down for me?
Okay, so The Least Dangerous Game. It starts with the Lower Decks crew playing a little tabletop game with a video component recorded by the aforementioned Martok, Chancellor of the Klingon Empire. And it's basically, if you're a big nerd like me, you know that it's Dungeons and Dragons. There's dice, there's cards, and there's a table, and they're holding weapons. I think Boimler's wearing like a Klingon wig, and they have tiny batleths and blood daggers. Anyway, the game is called Batleths and Bichnush. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. You can't find Bichnush, by the way, on a Klingon dictionary. You can find Bich, which means them, and Nush, which I think means sort of like coward or fearful. So Bichnush is like those cowards. Batleths and cowards. Swords and cowards, as opposed to Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, they're playing the game. It's super fun, kind of goofy. It's a throwback to, I sort of remember, anyway, I don't know. This might be an Easter egg.
Yes, you're right. It is an Easter egg.
Okay, well then I won't mention, but I may or may not have wanted
this
something
thing.
like
Yes.
this about 20 years ago.
I didn't even know about it, but anyway, let's carry on.
You
No, I
didn't even know about
it. I think it must have been an American thing because it would have been on.
It had to be.
Because the different. Never mind, we'll get to it.
Okay. So Mariner is called away early by Ransom. As we may recall from the last episode, Ransom is now her direct sort of senior officer in charge of her basically whether or not she'll stay in Starfleet, just to straighten up and fly right. And she has a mission in like 2 hours, and he's like, show up an hour early so that you're an hour early. So because if you're later than that, you're late. and Rutherford's on the same mission, but he doesn't have to go early, so she goes away. They continue playing Bathlefs and Bichnush, and Rutherford is sort of bemoaning his situation. He's trying to, is always trying to climb the ladder, and he finds out that a different Starfleet person by the name of Vendome has been made captain, got a field promotion, and it's stuck, and now is commanding a ship, and he's wondering what he's done wrong, and he's upset about it. Meanwhile, Mariner and Rutherford later, I suppose, go on this mission to fix these. It's a planet with one of those things where it's like a elevator that goes from the surface into space, called an orbital lift. But Mariner calls it a space elevator, and that's basically what it is. And they're helping the Dulanians, who are a wellness, in air quotes, based society, which everyone knows means they're hot and sexy and just hang out in tropical places. And in a weird reversal, instead of having Chief Billups and Rutherford fix the platforms while the command staff, Ransom and Mariner, go down to the planet to hang out with the locals and, get their freak on, Ransom switches it up. He sends Billups and Rutherford down to the planet. He says he and Mariner can fix the elevator. Mariner's upset about this, but has to follow orders, even though they're super weird. Boimler, having had his discussion with Tendi, realizes like maybe his issue is that he's always trying to climb the social ladder and he doesn't get out and say yes to things more often. And as this is happening, some sort of strong, square-jawed cadet comes by and asks him if he wants to play spring ball, and he's like, of course not. And then Tendy's like, come on, say yes to things. So he goes, all right, I'll go play spring ball. Then he goes to play, and it's with a bunch of security people and Shax. Boimler plays terribly and screams a lot and gets knocked down. But Shax thanks him and says he did great work, and he's like on spring ball, and Shax is like, no, that terrifying scream was perfect for my Bajoran dirge choir, where they scream and cry. He says, why don't you come do that? And so Boimler goes and does that, and he's basically having a magical day of yes, where that leads to him sitting for a painting class and into other things. Mariner, still working, is upset, and Billups and Rutherford are having a great time on the planet with the Dulanians, I think is what I said. Dulanians, where they kiss instead of handshaking, and according to Rutherford, with tongue. Meanwhile, Boimler comes to meet Tony for Tendi. Tony? Who's Tony? Comes to meet Tendi for lunch, and it's like, it's been a great day. Even though I have been getting out of my comfort zone, I've been making all these connections. Shax owes me a favor and all this other stuff. He's like, I'm just going to say yes to everything, is what he says. Which, of course, leads directly into tragedy, because he is then, they're both approached by a large, shielded, huge bird-like creature named Cranch, who was supposed to go down to the planet, but because of the lifts are broken, he can't go, and he must hunt. And he says he wants to hunt one of them. And Tendi says, no thanks. And Boimler agrees to be hunted like a complete idiot. So he's going to be hunted by Cranch in exactly 1 hour. Billups and Rutherford down on the surface managed to get into diplomatic trouble because they went into a building where you have to have your navel exposed, or it's an offense to their gods. And Mariner once again questions Rutherford's command decisions, but Rutherford says, hey, just demand to parlay and everything will be fine. Use a strong voice. Just be a commander. Meanwhile, Boimler is on the ship, and he is being literally hunted by this guy Crunch, who's throwing spears and stuff at him. He's running through the ship. He eventually manages to run into the captain as he's running for safety through a Jeffries tube, and he tells the captain that he's being hunted, and Captain Freeman says, oh, well, not on my ship. And then just as she's about to call it off, he mentions that it's this person named Cranch, who Captain Freeman's like, oh, I had mimosas with him. I had brunch with him earlier. He's super lovely. You can call off the security alert. Good luck. Happy hunting. So Boimler continues to be hunted by Cranch, and it's not going well. And that is that. Meanwhile, Mariner completely runs out of patience with the way things are going, because I think Rutherford and Billups further offend the Dulanians and are being taken to a volcano to speak to their god. Their god is it's complicated. They have a god that's like a volcano god, an evil supercomputer, and a weird psychic baby. Those are the gods of this weird planet. I love this thing that they did with they did the thing where every Paradise Planet has a weird
Weird thing.
it always every Star Trek episode that starts off with like, it's just a wonderful place, and then you find out that they're like, they kill everyone under 12.
Suck the lives of babies of something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That one in Strange New Worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. They're being dragged away, and Mariner basically is like, I can't do this anymore. I have to go. So she gets into a spacesuit, and she's like, I'm gonna disobey orders, and she leaps off the space platform and jumps down, doing the like base jumping thing that weird Starfleet people seem to love, where you jump from the upper
Skydive.
atmosphere free falling into the planet, which makes no sense. But as she gets like halfway down, she gets a call from Ransom, who admits like, hey, you know what? I was really trying to do this thing to teach you about following orders, even though the orders didn't make sense. And I'm starting to worry about Rutherford and Billups. So I think we should go down. He's like, meet me in Section E, and hey, we're going to have to base jump. And so Mariner stops her descent, climbs back up, has to take like a bunch of stairs, has to strip off the things she has and meet him in the room, pretend that she was just there working on stuff. And of course she is exhausted by the time that happens, and he's super excited, and he's like, hey, now let's get back to business. And so they both jump down. Mariner's basically asleep the entire trip down because she's so exhausted. They manage to get to the planet and have to enter basically it's at this point Rutherford and Billups are about to be thrown into the volcano that Ransom sets up and says, I demand parley. And then because they are a wellness culture, they say, why should we listen to you? You're an inferior human being. And of course, Ransom, as we know, is a complete gym rat meathead. So he rips off his shirt and shows his abs, which impresses the three gods. And so he's allowed to parley and save the day. Meanwhile, Boimler, being hunted by Cranch, finds himself back in the game room where they were playing Batlets and Bichnush. And he is inspired by a speech from Martok, tells him to stand up for himself. So he straps on a bunch of gear, and he comes out and he says, now the hunted has become the hunter. And he says, now I shall destroy you. But of course he has nothing to do. And Cranch throws a spear and knocks him to the ground, and he starts bleeding out. And then we find out that Cranch, hey, it's like, we are catch and release culture. So he just takes a photo for his the gram essentially, and then gives Boimler some notes on being the hunted, namely that the hunted always thinks they're going to become the hunter. It's a tale as old as time. And but he earns the respect of Cranch. So once again, saying yes works out, and Cranch obviously has the ear of Captain Freeman. So afterward, everything is good. Everyone gets back to the ship. Mariner talks to Ransom. Ransom's like, hey, I'm sorry I made that weird call, but if you ever disrespect my orders, you're out of here on your ass. And she tries to kiss after him, and he's not into it, but then he is into it secretly because it's weird that Mariner and Ransom are so very similar. Is it weird though? Then they wind up back in the game room of the lower decks crew playing Batlets and Binush again, and Boimler tries to do something confident and daring, and ends up dying immediately. And that is the end of episode 2 of season 3, Star Trek Lower Decks, The Least Dangerous Game. Let's chat about that.
I say, darling, let's do a quick chat about that.
Yes, let's do. Any thoughts, Stevie?
Well, it rather made me smile because I thought, at the beginning with the Dungeons and Dragons game, I thought, Aki would love this.
I did.
And
I
did,
may have
yes.
watched it 2 times.
Yeah, well, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
I loved it. Very fun. Played into some of the things that, Boimler, like this character development. Is he ever going to get promoted?
Yeah.
Mariner, quite honestly, is she ever going to get together with Ransom? Like this sort of power dynamic that's playing out between them. Mm-hmm. Curious. Let's see. I don't know. There wasn't much for Rutherford and Tendi in this one.
Right. Well, Rutherford,
But-
Tendi is sort of like has her head on straight. That's kind of Tendi's thing. She's giving good advice to everyone. And I feel like Rutherford and his relationship with Billups, what's Billups' first name? It's like it's Samathan. Because
Really?
at the point where they're in the volcano, I think he says, Billups is like, it's been a pleasure serving with you. And Rutherford says something like, oh, Samathan, the pleasure was all mine, or something to that effect.
Lieutenant Commander Andarithio / Andy Billups.
Wow. Why did I come up with Samathan?
I have no idea.
What am I thinking of?
Let's see. Played by that comedian person that you like.
Full disclosure. Oh, yeah. Played by, what is his name?
What the hell's his name? Paul Scheer.
Paul Scheer, yes, of The League. And How Did This Get Made? The podcast about bad movies. Yes, truly, I thought, the other two don't have like huge development here, but we see what's going on with our two mains, and I'm sure we'll get to see more of what's going on with Tendi, who's now like, big time science officer.
Totes.
Totes my goats.
One curious thing that came up for me was like, because Tendi came out of the shower and she was just standing in a towel giving Boimler advice. I was like, what why? What
I thought it was very funny. I guess when you think about it, you're like, if they're all living in shared quarters, it's like summer camp. Like you get out.
Guess
They don't have their own sonic showers. They're not command staff.
True.
No sweet sweets.
Because we didn't we have a scene where they were all in their sonic showers or something?
I thought
it was
so.
in season 1 or 2.
Yeah. That's been a while, but yes, that was very strange. It just made for a very funny. It was very like sitcom-y for her to be like out of the shower and like giving Boimler advice while he's like looking at his pad, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do to get promoted. And she's like, you got to say yes to things, Boimler.
That was fun.
And yes, very fun. I like I said, I really liked how they, as like a throwaway joke, were like, yes, obviously the Pleasure Planet has evil god or some kind of weird twist to their instead of shaking hands, they like make out, and it's all like everyone's by the pool all the time. But then if you don't show your navel in the sanctuary, you'll be sacrificed to the god.
And if you have an outie navel,
your outie navel, yes, indeed. And then, of course, the idea of like reversing sort of who does what on an away mission is also just a very interesting, not a huge thing here, but it's like that the engineers weren't the ones working against the clock while the command staff were on the ground, sort of, interacting diplomatically. It was the other way around. And so Mariner is itching the whole time. Of course, she should know how to fix an orbital platform. She's Starfleet. And of course, Billups and Rutherford should know how to diplomatically engage, but people have their talents. And of course, Ransom's beautiful abs save the day.
Of course.
Okay, it's just so hard for me not to talk about this Easter egg because it's the biggest thing for me. So should we go to Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to the what do we call my thing? I don't know. The main set phasers desk. We go directly now to Stevie at the Easter egg desk. Stevie, how are you today?
Well, hi there, Augie. How you doing? Happy to be here. Happy to be here as always. And the forecast here on the set of Lower Decks looks wonderful. What a great day we're having down here.
You're doing forecasts now. That's
I don't know. Last week it was traffic. This week it's weather forecast.
Yeah. Okay. Great. You're in front of a green screen. I see.
Did you listen, by the way, last week? I added some helicopter sounds. It was rather fun.
No, I didn't hear that part. I just kind of listened to make sure it was all cool. I'll go and listen to it.
Yeah. Listen. I had some fun. It's great. You know me and sound design. It's all good fun.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, so Easter eggs. Obviously, the very first one is the interactive Klingon gaming. Batleths and Bich Noch. Is that what you said? Bich Noch. A tabletop Klingon role-playing game. But so what you were mentioning was that it was reminiscent of the 1990s VCR game, specifically called Star Trek The Next Generation, a Klingon challenge featuring Gowron. Yes. Actor Robert Riley playing a different Klingon character and Mr. Frakes as Commander Riker. Now, I've never played that game.
Well, here's the thing. Neither have I. I just knew that it existed and wanted it. And it was like an interactive game where it was sort of like board game / Dungeons and Dragons, but you had to have a TV with the VCR so you could play like what they did in the show. Basically, there were like little bits where like I assume Frakes would come on and be like, Ensign, I need you to get to the whatchamacallit, and then you play a little game, and then you get there, and then Gowron would be there, and he'd be like, hello, I'm Gowron. Yeah.
Oh my god, should we get it? It's $25.
How would we play it? Does it come with everything? Do you have
not a VCR? I don't have a VCR, but we could get a VCR.
I mean, if they make a digital, if they make like an MP4 of it, I'm down.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's probably really clunky and bad. But,
probably.
It sounds like super fun.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. Anyway, let's continue. So you never played it. I wonder.
No.
Interesting.
I never got it. I never even got it. But I knew it existed and I wanted it and I never got it.
Because I just don't even know how it would work as a VCR. Like, I completely understand how it would work as a video game.
This was like pre that. You had to like play and then it would be like, you know.
Pause. Did you have to fast forward to certain bits? How did you?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think I've played games that were similar, and yeah, you would have had to fast forward. And like, if you made this option, you had to fast forward to this part. And they would have like little screens to let you know where you were in the game and stuff.
That sounds quite annoying and quite terrible. But if there is a digital version, let's do it.
Yeah, extremely cumbersome, I'm sure.
In fact, I bet you someone's created that. Come on, there's technology. Someone will have created it.
Of course.
An online version. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. So On the Hunt, the game that was conducted by Cranch, now apparently, this is a bit of a joke by Mike McMahon, named as a combination of ketchup and ranch.
Great.
Don't know why. So while the hunt-based culture was reminiscent of the Hirogen from Star Trek Voyager, Mike McMahon said that the original inspiration for Cranch came from a DS9 episode, Captive Pursuit, featuring hunters pursuing Tosk, a sentient prey species. So I thought he's really digging into the DS9 stuff this season.
We're getting a lot of DS9 preview this season. I don't know why. I don't know why they go to DS9, but I'm curious.
Do they think that they've exhausted everything from TNG and
No, of course not. But maybe the next season they'll be maybe they're just like paying homage. It'll be like Voyager, and then maybe there'll be like an Enterprise season or something.
Yeah, well, good point. Okay, so Spring Ball. Now, you'll remember that he played, Boimler went and played Spring Ball with Shax. So Spring Ball was a two-person Bajoran game first seen in the DS9 episode For the Cause. However, the game closely resembled handball. The rackets and courts and outfits seen on lower decks more closely resembled racquetball scene played on TNG and DS9, notably in the episode Rivals.
Yes.
So was that the one with Frakes and his dad?
I feel like it was, and I didn't remember that Spring Ball was a DS9 thing. Was a Bajoran thing. I totally remembered the TNG episode of them playing.
Oh, the space dive, of course. Mariner and Ransom took the quick way down, as you mentioned, on the orbital. What was it? The orbital lift.
Orbital lift.
Orbital lift.
How British.
And it was very much called back to the 2009 Star Trek movie when Kirk, Sulu, and Olsen dove from a shuttle to the Narada drilling platform. And of course, I think Olsen was the first red shirt who just died.
Yeah, he was the red shirt. Done.
Oopsies. And then lastly, the most obvious one that I had was they were, when they arrived on the surface of Dulain, Mariner quipped that it was one of those cultures that you run everywhere and kiss hello, right? I keep saying that word, referencing the TNG episode Justice and the Edo who did like to run everywhere. The one where it was Mr. Crusher, in fact, who nearly ended up being executed for crossing into, I don't know, a garden that changed all of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember. It's describing that very well.
Yes.
And did you have any more?
I did not have any more. I just thought it was, like you say, they're doing a lot of DS9 referencing. We don't see a lot of Martok. I mean, I think we do see Martok a bit in TNG, but he's like the Klingon Empire and Worf and Martok and Gowron feature heavily in like seasons 3 and 4 of Deep Space Nine. So it's nice to see Martok, the Chancellor. Once again, he talks like this.
I think you'd make a great Klingon when we go to Comic-Con next year.
Oh my god, I'd love to be a Klingon.
You could be. Do you want to be Worf? Would you be Worf?
No, I'd be someone off the beaten path, who's like a little bit less noble. You know, I want to wear the metal stuff.
You don't like to be noticed. You don't want to be an officer. You don't want to be captain. You're just like,
yeah, I want to be just like some doofus.
Okay.
Well, that's all we'll hear from the set of Lower Decks, and the forecast is looking sunny out here. So, Alki, it is back to you in the studio.
Oh, thank you very much. And now we'll go straight ahead to Quotable Moments.
Quotable Moments! I didn't have any. I was busy with the Easter eggs.
I wrote down quite a few, but on my phone as I was watching them on my iPad as I was waiting to play a wedding yesterday. But here we go. What have we got? Oh, in reference to the Dulanians and Mariner saying it's one of those cultures where they run everywhere and kiss. Ransom says, Starfleet isn't all about being fed fruit by erotic aliens with slightly different nose ridges. Sometimes you got to get your hands dirty when you're making your stay on the platform. Martok's speech to Boimler, I don't know, it really appealed to me, in which he says, the hunted... Oh, wait, no, that's the next one. Martok says, the only way you can lose now is by letting your foe define who you are. Never back down. Never cower. Which I very much enjoyed. There was... speaking of Martok, the beginning, which is unexplained. I'm going to read the whole thing because it's fun and I want to do the Martok voice. It's his thing that he does at the beginning of Batlets and Bishnush. The blood of my enemies is forever immortalized in my Dachtag. I can still taste their final panicked screams. My death will be ecstasy, a glorious end that will take me straight to Stovokor. I have honored my house, but will you?
Love it.
I forgot to mention the really funny part. Right there, it's kind of a throwaway thing, is that he then says, how many Klingon warriors will honor their Toduj? And then Tendi says 4, and he says, I heard 4, which is just a funny reference to telecommunications right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there another one? I guess I liked the Cranch bit with Boimler where he gives him notes, and he says, when you decide to switch it up and become the hunter, you can't just announce it and stand there. You got to stick and move. So, anyway. God. So many, I don't put them in a thing anymore. I just bold them in my stupid rundown. Mariner saying, wow, a psychic baby, evil computer, and a volcano. You guys ever heard of Overkill?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, love them.
Very good.
Yes. And the very end is just funny because Boimler, he's feeling himself because he's done so much great stuff. And he says, I confidently enter the bar and demand blood wine. And then the computer, Martok, says, the bartender rips off your arm and kills you with it. It is not an honorable death since technically you died by your own hand. And those are the quotable moments I think I wrote down.
Huh. Oh,
Something
I don't
about
have
lava tubes.
Oh, yeah. I don't have any Trek news. Let's see.
No Trek news? Well, because... let's go to next time and talk about what's happening in 3 days.
Oh, yes. I've forgotten where my button is. Hang on a minute.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Yeah, next time on Set Phasers, we'll be talking about episode 3 of season 3, 3. But also in the interim, we shall have to contend with the fact that September 8th is Star Trek something day. What do they call it? Star Trek Day?
Yes, Star Trek Day, September 8th, coming up on Thursday. I've blocked off my entire afternoon. I'm like, no meetings, I'm busy.
I wish I could. I'm going to be on a train for the first part of it, but I will hopefully catch the second part of it. But I'm assuming we'll get some news about some things. Particularly, I saw that Discovery is going to have a season 4 ship tour with the Doc. And then Sonequa Martin Green will be a special guest, and also maybe another special guest I haven't announced yet. So
we always get lots of fun things on Star Trek Day.
Yeah, it should be.
They plan it well because you get Star Trek Day and then you get First Contact Day.
Yes.
Roughly 6 months apart.
2 things a day. Exactly. Yeah. So they can do the First Contact, and then Star Trek Day is usually more of the like, here's some trailers for next year kind of thing, which will be great. So probably we'll see a Discovery trailer, Strange New Worlds trailer, and maybe a Picard trailer. I think the Picard crew is going to be in full effect on Star Trek Day.
Do you think? Oh, here's the thing. Do you think we might get a movie clip? Because I mean, they are nowhere near it, but I think they might just do a really short teaser because they've confirmed it's going ahead now.
They'll be like 2024.
Pretty much, yeah.
Who knows? So we'll see. Anyway, big day coming up, September 8th, and then we'll have tons of Star Trek news in the episode following, I assume. But anyway, listen, hey, if you enjoyed the episode, please find us wherever you get your podcasts. We are We put out every new episodes as often as we can on Mondays. Today is Monday, and it's all my fault, and I'm exhausted. But we put out new episodes, and we've covered every new franchise of Star Trek, from Discovery right on down to Strange New Worlds. So we've got tons of back episodes that you can check out.
Awesome. Well, and don't forget to follow us on the old Instagram. We are at Set Phasers and at Set Phasers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, respectively. And of course, please follow us wherever you choose to. Basically, come and join us on Patreon was the next thing. Patreon.com/Set Phasers.
Yes, indeed. And you already mentioned the socials, so I have nothing to say.
Whoopsies.
It's all right.
Well, and today, I'm going to see Wrath of Khan.
That's today.
It's today.
How dare you rub that in my face? Ugh.
Gone. Well, until next time, I'm Stevie Mans.
From hell's heart, I stab at thee to the last breath, or something like that. Anyway, enjoy.
You want to sign off, Aki?
That you got to do the thing, and then I do the thing.
Well, I said till next time, I'm Stevie Mans.
Oh, and
So I did my
then
thing.
I'll say I missed that because I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm a winged lizard type creature, and that doesn't really apply to you. And this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.